What's up, guys? Welcome back into the Millennial Profit. Today we're going to be talking about how to sell on Amazon, complete guide for beginners. Let's dive right in. First off, you're obviously going to need to apply, so I'll drop that link down below. Or you can Google apply to be an Amazon seller. And typically this will take a week or two, sometimes up to 3 weeks, to complete your registration and get accepted to sell on Amazon. You just have to give them all of the basic stuff, your banking account number, banking routing number, chargeable credit card, government ID, tax information, phone number, address, all that good stuff. And then now within the last couple of years, they've added that you actually have to do like a Zoom call with people just so they can basically see that you are who you say you are. That's all they're trying to do with all of this stuff, why they need you to submit all of that, just to make sure that you're not signing up under someone else's name, just basically confirming that you are the person that you are saying you are, or you are the business that you are signing up under. And then once you're signing up, you have to decide, do you want the individual selling plan or the professional selling plan? The individual selling plan is what I recommend a lot of people to start out on because that is a pay per sale basis. So you're going to pay a 99-cent fee for each sale on top of the other fees that we're going to talk about a little later. Whereas the professional plan, you're actually just paying $40 per month just to have that plan. So if you're actually starting out and you think you're going to sell more than 40 items, you have like a lot of inventory, then it might not be the worst idea to invest in that $40 plan. It's also just a business expense. I'm going to put up side by side here some differences between the individual and the professional selling plan. Two big things to note is the individual plan, you're not eligible for the buy box, whereas the professional plan you are. So I'm going to talk about the buy box a little later once we talk about listing some stuff. So just keep that in the back of your head. And then also on the individual plan, you cannot do free shipping, whereas the professional plan you can. That doesn't show on this pop-up, but that is something to note. I started out with the individual plan and then eventually I upgraded to the professional plan. So don't worry if you pick the wrong one, like it doesn't matter. You can upgrade or downgrade at any time. Next, something that trips a lot of people up is there's two fulfillment options. So we're going to go over those, FBM versus FBA. First, let's start with FBM. That is fulfilled by merchant. That's just like selling on eBay. So you are storing the item, you are picking the item, you're packing it, and you're shipping it to the buyer. Just like selling on eBay, you're just doing it on Amazon. Fees for FBM are going to range anywhere between 6 and 25%, but typically in most categories, it's going to be 15%. It's just going to depend on the category. For FBM, you're going to want to make sure you go to your shipping settings and set your shipping template based on where you're at in the country and the types of items that you're shipping. That way, if people pay for expedited services, that you're not getting hosed on the shipping. So just make sure to go in there and change that up depending on what you're selling and where you're selling from. And then when an item sells, it's just going to pop up in your orders and you're going to click buy shipping, and then you have all of your shipping services there to choose from. Again, just like eBay. I would not recommend using a third-party service to ship on Amazon because you're only covered if you actually buy your shipping through them. I've seen a lot of people get hosed because they buy from Pirate Ship, which I love Pirate Ship for eBay, but even if the tracking just shows it got delivered, Amazon will just refund their money and there's nothing you can do if you didn't buy the shipping through them. So that gives you that little extra insurance on if it shows that the item has been delivered or not. And I mainly do FBM, so I'm actually going to be making an FBM for beginners video where it's going to be like a 15 to 20 minute guide on just FBM, where I'm really going to dive into that. This video is really just touching on all the basics of everything you need to know about Amazon. So next, this is what most people do. This is FBA. This is fulfilled by Amazon. So that means that you're shipping your items to Amazon, and then from there, they're storing your items, they're shipping them to the buyer, and they're taking on all of the customer complaints, all of the returns, as well as getting Amazon Prime put on your listings, which can definitely help pump some more sales. You just have to note that your fees are going to be higher as you're going to have to pay FBA fees. You can see all of these fees and everything actually straight from the Amazon seller app. If you go into whatever item you're selling, there's a little calculator there and you can punch it in for FBA or FBM. So that's pretty helpful that you can actually put in like how much you paid for something. It'll tell you how much it's going to cost to ship and all the fees, and then pump out what your profit will be. So definitely take advantage of that. So now that we've talked about FBA versus FBM, let's talk about Seller Central, which is what you're going to be using to list these items. Before we talk about listing though, let's just break down what Seller Central is in general. So once you get approved, you're going to have access to your Seller Central, which will be on desktop or also on the mobile app. The mobile app is not that good. It's very glitchy. I'm honestly surprised that a company as big as Amazon hasn't invested some more money in a better seller app, but here we are. It is a little better than when I made this video last year, but it is still very glitchy. The website though is pretty flawless. I have pretty good luck on there. So if you can, use the website, but you're going to see some really cool features you can actually use on the mobile app where you can scan the items directly. We will touch on that in a little bit. I just wish it was a little cleaner app. Think of Seller Central as your go-to resource for selling on Amazon. It's your place for all things selling, listing new inventory, managing that inventory, dealing with returns, shipping out FBM items, shipping items to FBA. All things you need are going to be done through the Amazon Seller Central. So now that we understand what Amazon Seller Central is, let's show you how to list an item. So unlike eBay, you're not actually going to be listing your own products. You're not creating your own listings. You're just going to hop on listings that are already made. If you're just creating an account now, there's like a 0% chance that you're ever going to be able to create listings. There's aged accounts that are able to make some listings. But Amazon doesn't let just anybody create listings. So you're going to want to just find items that are already out there and list those. So there's actually two ways to look up items on the Amazon Seller app. The first one is clicking that little camera icon in the top right, and that is going to scan the UPC of the item that you have. And if that item is listed on Amazon, it should bring it up and it'll show you all the sellers and everything and the sales rank. We'll get into sales ranks a little later. If nothing comes up, then there's typically not a listing. You can try manually searching though, but it's probably not going to bring that item up, or it's going to bring up a lot of similar items. Occasionally I have found listings this way, but usually it will be attached to the UPC. So once you find your exact product and you want to list it, it's super easy. Again, nothing like eBay. Basically, you can just look through the sellers, see if they have Prime shipping, see if they're shipping it themselves. Then you click list, and all you have to do is really set your quantity, set your price, if you're doing FBM or FBA, and then you list it. It's super simple. The listing is already made for you. All right, next let's talk about product rankings. Like I just mentioned, these are very important, and typically top 3 to top 5%, depending on the category, is going to be a good product ranking, meaning that that is an item up towards the top of the algorithm, so it should get more clicks and more sales. But the only way to really know is actually by paying for a subscription like Keepa or SellerAmp, one of those that has some advanced analytics that you can actually see the exact number of sales these listings are making per month. These product rankings are just a good way to get a read on how many of these items are actually selling per month if they are a lower rank. Next, let's talk about the buy box. I feel like a lot of people don't mention this. You hear a lot of these Amazon gurus talking about the buy box, but no one actually explains what it is. It's super simple. Do not overcomplicate it. The buy box is literally that buy it now button that's on Amazon. And basically, if you remember at the beginning, I talked about how individual selling plan, you aren't eligible for the buy box. Most people don't actually realize there's multiple sellers usually on most listings on Amazon, but only one of them has the buy box. The individual sellers actually aren't eligible for the buy box, so the buyer would have to scroll down to other sellers to see you and to buy it. Amazon says they rotate the buy box, but honestly, if you have Prime shipping, you're going to be more eligible to get the buy box over someone doing FBM. But like I said, I do a lot of FBM, and on good ranking products, like I don't really have a problem getting the buy box. Another thing to note is that just because you have the lowest price doesn't mean that you're going to get the buy box either. I've seen a lot of people go like $10 to $15 below other sellers, and they can't sell anything because they can't get the buy box. So I typically go like a penny below, if not just match the lowest price. I'm not trying to tank items. If someone has Prime, I'll usually just match the lowest Prime listing. Then once they sell out, usually it'll rotate to me. You can still make sales without the buy box because I had the individual plan for months and I made plenty of sales. Next thing to talk about is performance metrics. You're going to want to make sure to keep an eye on these just to make sure you keep your account in good health. So basically you have these 3 categories: order defect rate that you want to keep lower than 1%, pre-fulfillment cancel rate lower than 2.5%, late shipment rate for FBM orders less than 4%. I wouldn't get too worried if you dip below this occasionally, because if you're just starting out and you have one bad order or whatever, it's going to say like your account is at risk at the top. But the more items you sell, like the lower these percentages will get. You're going to have bad buyers, bad experiences on Amazon. You just have to be ready for it and just doing your best to avoid these. Next, a big question a lot of people have when it comes to Amazon: gated versus ungated. Basically, if an item is gated, it means that you are not allowed to sell that product. If an item is ungated, that means that it's clear for you to sell. When you're just starting out, most brands are going to be gated. The only things that are really ungated for you are books. However, just because an item is gated doesn't mean that you actually can't sell that. You just have to obtain a manufacturer invoice from a distributor who sells that brand, buying 10 items of an exact listing on Amazon, like an exact product, and then submitting that to Amazon on that product. I have a whole video on how to ungate on Amazon, so I'm not going to go too detailed on that, but it's very simple. There's places like Champs, Finish Line, Target, like major retailers that send you invoices and that will work for ungating. However, one thing I want to say is I would not go crazy and just ungate a bunch of brands at first. I see a lot of people bury themselves in ungates and then they never end up selling those brands. Eventually, you do get ungated automatically in a bunch of categories, so I wouldn't go crazy at first. I would just ungate in a couple brands that you really source heavily, and then once you start making sales on Amazon, you're just going to start getting ungated in most products. Another good strategy when you're first starting out on Amazon and you're trying to figure out what you're gated and what you're ungated in, go to Walmart, go to Target, just start scanning things. Whether you're going to sell those products or not, just start scanning a bunch of brands, a bunch of different items, and just seeing the different types of things that you are able to sell. Last thing to note, returns. Unfortunately, there's no way around these. I have my returns turned off on eBay, and that's why eBay is my #1 platform. They offer buyers free returns on Amazon. However, if they return an item to you like FBM, not in the same condition that it was sent out, like say I sent a pair of Crocs out and they used them, you can actually charge them a restocking fee. I typically do like 50% on that. But typically you're going to have to eat the shipping both ways either way. You're just going to have to learn to live with returns on Amazon. Unfortunately, it's a part of the game. Try to find some categories with some lower return rates, which is basically anything without a size. That's why I don't sell a ton on Amazon as well, because I sell a lot of hats, clothing, and shoes, which is all size related. People want to try it on. If it doesn't fit, they're just going to send it back. Amazon's the place they're buying stuff for that. So if you're just selling everyday items, like your returns aren't going to be that bad. So that will pretty much wrap it up. I hope this was able to help you if you're trying to learn about Amazon. I tried to be as thorough as I possibly could here, but again, I'm going to make some side videos going more in depth on these. I want to make a video just on FBA, one on just FBM, even one on FBM shipping. So I appreciate everyone so much for watching. If you're interested in joining my reseller group, you can check that out. First link in the description. There's money to be made everywhere, guys. Let's go get it. Thank you for watching The Millennial Prophet.